unfortunately, that's going to all need to be scrapped. So, lovely. I apologize to everybody watching that I didn't pick up on that sooner. But we're going to go right into our third break of the night. And when I come back, we'll be talking about the NHL announcing the 4 Nations Faceoff.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Welcome back to the GSMC Hockey Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. We're going to get right into our fourth segment of the night here, talking about the Nations Tournament that was announced over the weekend, as it was a big piece of news here. So February 12th through 20th of 2025, there will be a 4 Nations Tournament between the United States, Canada, Finland, and Sweden. All 4 of these teams are the top 4 teams in the IIHF global rankings. Czech, coming off their IIHF tournament win, is not selected here, but of course Canada and USA are missing out on a lot of their big guys that are playing in the NHL playoffs right now. So taking that with a grain of salt, still having those 4 teams up to the top of the list here, and I think deservedly so. When you look at Canada, Finland, Sweden, and USA, of course, that's also where the majority of hockey fans come from. So having those 4 teams in a tournament is going to be very exciting. It's going to be in February of next year, so it's going to kind of come at the same time as the Olympics will, a year in advance. Of course, the Olympics is going to be in 2026. This is going to be in 2025. So I think the NHL is trying to have a break in their schedule in February every year, and like that's it. Just seems like that's got to be it. Like they're just trying to have that break in their schedule in February because they're getting the Olympics now. They're letting their players go to the Olympics, so they're going to get that break every 4 years. I think they're going to try to move that to every year. That's what this seems like to me. Of course, that's just speculation, and I don't know for sure, but that could definitely be it. When we're talking about this tournament, though, I think it's going to be very exciting. All 7 games in the 4 Nations Faceoff will be played with NHL rules. Each team plays 3 tournament games in round-robin format, 3 points for regulation, 2 points for an overtime/shootout win, and 1 point for an overtime/shootout loss, and then no points for a loss. The two teams with the best record will advance to the final championship game, and the 2 venues will be the Centre Bell in Montreal, and will be the TD Garden in Boston. It's looking like it's going to be a very exciting tournament. As I said, those 4 teams make up the top 4 teams in international hockey. So it's going to be exciting to see those guys kind of compete with the break of the schedule. It might help out with these guys. Of course, it's a very demanding NHL schedule nowadays. But I talk a lot about how close together these days kind of run in these playoffs, and especially when we get into the off season, when if the Stanley Cup goes to Game 7, and of course it can and it can't, right? Or it could or it could not go to a Game 7, then you have 2 days off, and then the NHL draft right after that. So basically, if you were to play another game, the NHL draft would be on that day. So you can't get any closer to kind of these events in hockey. And then you're going to go from the Stanley Cup final to the NHL draft. Immediately after the NHL draft, that's re-sign phase. Immediately after the re-sign phase, you get to the offseason, and we talk about this a lot on this podcast here. How closely these days run together, and how closely kind of these months can run when you're going into such a demanding schedule. For the NHL, you're going to have an 82-game schedule that starts mid-October. they're trying to get back to starting early October as it was for so long, and then COVID hit and they had to kind of push back the dates a little bit. They're going to try to get back to having it in that kind of earlier window, and hopefully they can, because I think that will be very important to have kind of that extra month or extra week or two, especially if you're going to have a break in the schedule. So this is going to run from February 12th to February 20th. And then you could probably assume maybe a few days before and after for travel for all the players that will be involved, and for not just travel but practicing with the new team. Of course, you're going to be with a bunch of guys that you haven't ever played with, or you haven't played with for a long time, and at the very least maybe not even played with before. So putting together a lot of these guys could be very difficult for a coach or a general manager that's putting together a squad very fast. But of course, all these guys are going to be very excited for it. Anytime that you get to represent your country in any sport is kind of the biggest honor that you can get as an athlete. Of course, you see that a lot in soccer or football with the Copa America or the Euros coming up. Both of these events and both of these national or continental competitions are, spoken of at the highest regards by these athletes that are going to get to play in them, and it's a heartbreak when you don't get to play in them. I know it was James Maddison of the England national team, when he got left out of the Euro squad, was very upset about that. And you see it all around the world. Just Olympics, Caitlin Clark just got left out of the USA Olympics team, and she was very upset about it. So a lot of any athlete, really, whenever you get a chance to play for your national team, it means so much to you. And all of these guys will definitely be excited to have another a chance. For hockey, a lot of these national tournaments kind of get blown over. Like the IIHF just happened, and not a lot of coverage was on it. Hopefully this one gets a lot of coverage here. It looks like this will be hosted by the NHL themselves, if I'm not mistaken. And it looks like it's just going to be a very, very fun event, and I'm very excited for it. It's going to be in 2025 in February. Of course, it's going to add to a little bit of a break in the schedule, so that'll be nice for players not playing, and probably nice for players that are playing. Get a little bit of stress-free of the NHL schedule. So the NHL announces new Nations tournament. It looks like it's going to be an exciting one. I'm looking forward to it, but that'll wrap up our fourth segment of the night. When I come back with our fifth and final of this segment of the night, we'll be talking about this game too. A little bit of live reaction for it. Of course, I've been in this room not being able to watch it for too much, but I'll talk about what I can talk about it.